Murphy at Murtech.com with your daily news update. Okay, here we are on October the 31st in the year of our Lord 2025, and happy Halloween. I hope you like the way that I've decorated my site for Halloween, all the jack-o'-lanterns. But at any rate, we got a bunch of good information for you tonight, so let's go ahead and click over here, Murtech on Rumble. And this is my Rumble channel. And this is the video we're watching right now, episode 1732. Let me get into this and pause the video and close out the live chat. Slide down here and click the Show More button to expand out the description box. Okay, we have information here from ACLJ, Sekulow, American Center for Law and Justice, Devory Darkins, Rubin Report, and X22 Report. Okay, but before we get into that, I do need to give some shout outs here to Tom Norris, just started following my channel. Grandma Joe 1 just started following my channel, so thank you very much, folks, for following my channel. I greatly appreciate that. I hope you're tuned in, and I hope you enjoy the content. Okay, Kocque gave me a comment on my episode 1731. Calvin Blue 74 gave me a comment on my episode, my extra 515B. Debbie BS gave me a comment on my extra 516A and 516B. And Gunner 6260 and Debbie BS gave me a comment on my extra 516C. Okay, so thank you very much, folks, for your comments. I enjoy reading your feedback, and I certainly appreciate your support. So let me give this a thumbs up. Boom. There we go. And by the way, I do have a thumbs up icon right here below this video that you're watching. So if you could just slide down here and click that thumbs up button, that would be fantastic. Okay, speaking of comments, comment of the day from Kocque. I guess that's Kocque. Let me get to that. And Kocque says, thank you for all your hard work. Well, thank you, Kocque, for your comment, and thank you for watching. I greatly appreciate that. Okay, let's get back here and get into the nitty-gritty. From ACLJ Sekulow, MARSHA BLACKBURN, Intel in Jack Smith investigation. Okay, well, that sounds kind of interesting, so let's take a look at that.
The bigger revelation, once again, it feels like I can't get away from this story, that Jack Smith, who he was looking into, now expands even further. Sure, first it was people directly involved with President Trump. Then it was people that kind of felt like on the outskirts. Then it was senators, Ted Cruz, Lindsey Graham, all these names that started coming up saying, hey, I want their phone records. You know, the people like MARSHA BLACKBURN. That all was happening. Then now, as we have seen more and more information come out about this investigation, it now moves to the media. And of course, when you look at the media, the majority of these are conservative-leaning outlets, you would say. So you have companies such as CBS, communications with those. You're also seeing communications with Fox News, with Fox Business, with Newsmax, with Sinclair, and with others. That's according to Chuck Grassley. Okay, those are the names that we just know. Those, and we also know Stephen Miller, Dan Scavino, Jared Kushner, and Laura Trump were also targeted, along with major Republican donors that, again, aren't necessarily named, and that's probably good. This corruption, I mean, how deep does this go within the ranks, it feels like, of the previous Department of Justice?
Yes, and I think it is deep and wide, because what you have seen is Jack Smith was put in place for Arctic Frost by Chris Wray and Merrick Garland and Lisa Monaco. And on April 4th, 22, they did a memo. Chris Wray wrote a memo to Merrick Garland and Lisa Monaco and said, we think maybe, possibly, there could have been some kind of coordination, some kind of obstruction. We don't know. There could be alleged activity. It was very vague and nebulous.
Yes.
And so then they put Jack Smith in charge of this. Well, then they came along, and there were 9 senators, all Republicans who support Trump, who had valid questions about the outcome of the 2020 election. So then they sent a subpoena over to our wireless companies and pulled our cell phone records. And they got every phone call we either made or received, the duration of the call, the person the call was to or from, and where we were physically standing when the call was either made or received. Very invasive. It's a violation of our First and Fourth Amendment rights. It's a violation of the Speech and Debate Clause, of the Separation of Powers and the Stored Communications Act, and probably a few other things. And as we go through this process and get ready to begin our hearings with Jack Smith and the wireless companies and find out more, I think it's going to be appalling, because think about this. If they were doing this to U.S. senators, what are they doing to the American people that they don't like or that disagree with them?
Absolutely. I mean, that's what I was thinking is, as you were saying this, like, if they were willing to do this to you, and you've been, personally targeted, I mean, along with a lot of this group here, and kind of putting into perspective of what that feels like for you, and knowing that they, and someone like you who has been so pushing heavy on child safety and online child safety, even knowing that, people, parents with kids and grandchildren, that this is should be a wake up call. That this kind of information is happening, and that your cell phone provider is willing, some of them did not, to say push back, some did push back on it, is willing to do this. And I guess the answer that a lot of American people are wondering, Senator Blackburn, is, you've been targeted by this. So many of our other friends have been. What does accountability now look like for Jack Smith?
Yes. Well, thank goodness we had Kash Patel move forward and fire everybody involved with the CR-15 unit that worked with Jack Smith. For Jack Smith, we have written a letter to refer him to the Office of Professional Conduct over at the DOJ. And the findings from that would give us the opportunity to move forward with getting him disbarred. We also, as we do our hearings, we think that accountability should be being held accountable to the full extent of the law, not only for Jack Smith, but for these individuals. Would we hope that we see some indictments on this? Yes, because it was criminal and it was a violation of rights. Should there be a trial? Yes, there should be a trial. The American people should not have to worry about their government being weaponized against them because they are from a different political party or have a different opinion.
We've talked about Jack Smith here, and now Arctic Frost, where we've seen now more pushes and more releases saying not only was it the people that are around President Trump, then it was like a senator that may have called him once, to now saying that they were looking at the phone records of major media organizations, Fox, CBS even, Sinclair, that it just seems like it keeps going deeper and deeper. As someone who was there, Rick, and someone that what it's like on the inside, how you feeling about all this?
First of all, let's just say thank you, Chuck Grassley. If you live in Iowa, if you see Chuck Grassley, you have to thank him for all of his work on this. I loved working with him when I was DNI. He is someone who is digging into these issues.
No joke.
He doesn't just take the government's word for it, no matter who's in charge. He's the one who unearthed this, and we see Jack Smith is somebody who has literally been politicizing all of these investigations. I hope he's prosecuted.
Yes.
We are so excited to announce the ACLJ's brand new app, completely redesigned to provide you with.
All right. That's amazing how you won't hear a word about this on the mainstream media. And that is exactly one of the reasons why I share this information with you. I don't know of any network. Let me know in the comments below if you've heard Fox or any other network talk about this. Let me click on this Rumble link and show you that this video does come from American Center for Law and Justice. I am following the channel. I'm giving them a thumbs up. I hope you do the same thing for me. All right, let's jump back here and see what's next with Devory Darkins. Appeals court hands Trump huge win as Democrats dealt major legal setback. Sounds like a wiener to me. Let's see what it's all about.
Look.
Breaking news in our law and justice lead. A federal appeals court just temporarily blocked a court order requiring the top Border Patrol official in Chicago to check in daily with a judge. Let's bring in CNN's Priscilla Alvarez. Priscilla, so this story is wild. A lower court judge initially ordered daily check-ins after aggressive crowd control tactics were being used, despite being told to cut it out. What is the appeals court saying here?
So the appeals court is saying that for now, so essentially today for sure, Gregory Bovino, who has been the top Border Patrol official in charge of the crackdown in Chicago, does not need to appear for his daily check-in. Now, the federal appeals court allowed for more briefings on this, so we'll see if this will hold again tomorrow, but the expectation was that within the next few hours, we were going to see Bovino take the stand again to provide a rundown of the day. Now, the reason that this happened is because only hours ago, the Justice Department asked the federal appeals court to weigh in, essentially saying that this was an extraordinary move by the federal judge to have Bovino check in, particularly as the official that is in charge of these operations.
Now, didn't we tell you this is exactly what was going to happen? Literally after this ruling came down, requiring him to show up to court every single day until November 4th, we knew this was a overstep by the judicial system. And that's why the appeals court had to step in. Makes total sense. This is the photo of that judge, by the way, who was not born in the United States of America. So it begs the question, if you have not been born in the United States of America, do you have any business serving in Congress? And do you have any business serving on the bench? I think it's a nice debate to have, given what we continue to see from these judges. Now, let's hear a little bit more on that.
Now, what came through, Jake, in the hearing yesterday, and particularly with this order from the judge initially, is that they have a microscope on Bovino and the Border Patrol officials, because ultimately these confrontations are getting very aggressive with protesters on both sides. Protesters have also been throwing objects at federal agents. And she has a TRO in place that says you cannot use tear gas or other tactics, correct, unless there's an imminent threat. And so that has been at the crux of this. And while she said she doesn't want to micromanage a situation, she did ask for this daily check-in. We'll see what happens tomorrow and onward. And she did make clear that she is keeping tabs on them and what is happening on the streets, because ultimately the point of this was for Bovino to give a rundown of what is happening every day.
So needless to say, this is a major legal setback for Democrats, especially the judge who presides over that area. They think they can micromanage ICE agents, particularly the chief of Border Patrol. They think they're going to micromanage the Trump administration's ability to carry out this mandate that 77 million people voted for, which is the mass deportation of illegal aliens. Some of these people may be innocent. They may be looking to get work. They may be attempting to pay taxes. And some of these people are raping, murdering, and killing American citizens. It doesn't matter which spectrum you're on. If you cross the border illegally, you're subject to deportation. So it's interesting how far this judge attempted to go, and appeals court had to reel her back in. Now, I want you guys to pay attention to this next clip from MSDNC, because they're twisting themselves into a pretzel after this ruling. Take a look.
Two things. One, in the first instance, Judge Ellis telling Mr. Bovino, bring your behind here every day, 7 o'clock, and tell me how you're violating the rights of the citizens of this country, or not. And then two, the Seventh Circuit this evening coming back and saying, no, you don't have to do that, but we're not going to tell you why.
So what Judge Ellis did is quite extraordinary. I'm not aware of any sort of daily check-in ever required of a law enforcement officer before, but we need to examine it in the context of very extraordinary times. It is not usually the case throughout American history that you have mass groupings of various federal law enforcement agencies working together, scaring communities, deploying chemical agents.
Now let's stop right there.
Yes.
Let me go through it with you guys here. Let's use their same language and describe what happened to Donald J. Trump at the time, okay, and his wife and his son. Masked agents who had assault weapons and AR-15s arrived in the middle of the night, busted into his Mar-a-Lago property, raided his drawer, raided his room, went through his wife's panty drawer seeking to find classified documents, in some case manipulated evidence, falsified evidence, planted evidence
Yes.
in order to entrap the former president of the United States. You see how we can play that same game. If we replace certain words to make it sound very dramatic, it can shift your perspective really quickly. The problem is we need to judge things based on the merits. Did Greg Bovino deploy tear gas because he was threatened or because they were fear for their lives when they're being surrounded by 75 rioters? The answer is yes.
Yes.
So in that context, it makes sense that he would deploy tear gas. And then to tell him that he can't do it when he's in fear of his life is ridiculous.
So Bovino has emerged as something of a lightning rod among progressives and Democrats. What does the Department of Homeland Security think of him?
So first of all, Bovino has been around for a very long time in the Border Patrol. He is very well liked at the leadership in the Department of Homeland Security and the White House. According to my sources, they like what they're seeing from him. And what they're seeing from him is these heavy-handed tactics in aggressively arresting immigrants, and also these roving patrols, going to the Home Depot, arresting people there, going to the car wash. Now, I've talked to Bovino, and he says, look, we're doing the job. We're going after the public safety threats. But it does go a step beyond what we have seen with, for example, immigration and customs enforcement. And therein lies the tension. So much tension that now there is a shakeup planned at ICE, where they're also considering installing Border Patrol officials in leadership roles there. Now, these are two completely separate agencies, even if they're both in the immigration space. So this has been a big point of consternation among all of my sources. Because
I think it's very important for me to at least bring this up. The Medicare annual enrollment period is now here. And you know what that means? There's plenty of seniors out there that
Okay, let me get through this commercial here.
$200, $1,100 chapter today at. Okay, so we've actually talked about that particular issue when Fox News reported on that ICE leadership would be replaced by Border Patrol. Listen, I'm still of the opinion, as I've been since day one, you got to hit it from all angles. You got to encourage self-deportation. You got to hit it hard and aggressive. And you also have to hit it with stealth and be strategic, right? We should have a certain portion of this entire operation operating at 2 a.m. in the morning to go in after the worst of the worst. In broad daylight, we should be targeting people who are here unlawfully. You've been given a chance to do the right thing. You refuse to do it. We're coming after you. And then we should be encouraging people to self-deport so they can give themselves the best opportunity to come back into this country and do it the right way. I think that is the best way to handle it, but that's just me, okay? All right, now let's go to this story, and this is really a good one, a careful reminder about your faith. Erica Kirk is speaking, or she just spoke, Turning Point USA event at Ole Miss. The vice president was there as well. We'll take a look at what he said. But let's start with the three things she says Charlie Kirk would ask himself every single day. Take a listen.
His desk, flanked between the Bible verse of Micah, chapter 6, verse 3. It all kind of came together for me. So he sees us on the wall, and then he sees on his desk these three questions that he would ask himself every single day. And it would be, what is something I can do for someone today? The second one was, what is something I can do to add value to the world today? And the third was, how can I honor God today? Those were the three questions combined with the words he saw every single morning. So to me, seeing on his desk, that was him suited up with the armor of the Lord every day. That was his combination. And what I'm realizing with that is those were the action points of how to have courage. Because you can ask me, well, how do I become courageous? Ask yourself those three questions every single day. And I promise you, you will get courage.
So a couple of things. Sometimes I'm standing there, and my wife reminds me of this as well, that it just feels weird that Charlie Kirk is not here anymore, right? Again, it doesn't matter how you feel about him. His impact, his influence was unmatched, and you have to respect that. You just have to. His work ethic, unmatched. You just have to respect it. Obviously, if you are a person who's in charge of their mental faculties, of course. Secondly, I'm a firm believer in those three questions, because honestly, what are you doing with your life every day? I hope every single day you are advancing, you are expanding, you are growing to bigger and better things. Doesn't matter your age. I'm a firm believer we got to ride this thing till the wheels come off, all the way to the end. Don't slow down. Some of you guys have goals. Some of you guys have things you think, oh man, I can't do this. I can't. Yeah, you can. Service is our purpose. And I hope that every one of you guys watching lean in on that. Okay, now let's go to the vice president, because he had a nice statement as well. Take a listen.
But if you think of that advice, Charlie wanted you to get married. He wanted you to fall in love. He wanted you to build a family. He wanted you to find a vocation. That was the advice that he gave on campuses. But that's not just about you. That's also about our country and about our government. Because while you have the freedom to live life as you so choose, I have got a responsibility as your vice president to make the American dream as accessible as possible. And this is why, my friends, this is why we care about all the things that we care about. Why do I care so much about having a secure border in the United States of America? It's because I believe that when you let in a flood of illegal immigration, what it does is it drives down the wages of young people and makes housing unaffordable for the entire American population. That's why we closed down the border.
Yeah, there's no question that the president came in hot and got results immediately. And that's why I always continue to tell you guys, people who come after him, including J.D. Vance, if he is elected, they have some big shoes to fill, because you can't, as a president any longer, say that you can't do X. We can't do, like at the end of the day, you just sign that executive order and get it done. That's what the president has been doing. It's all short term, as I told you. That's why Congress is really a problem. At any rate, in regards to affordability in our country, listen, younger people need to understand how to earn money. That is the bottom line to it. There is no changing what Congress has already done. The damage is done. So what can we do about it? We got to arm ourselves with the information we need to improve our financial situation. Financial literacy, that's number one. Number two, mindset, very important. Your faith, that's number three. And then number four, your skill set. What skills do you have that can help you solve a problem and get paid? That's what we should be teaching our young adults. That is my hope. Okay, let's go to this point that he made in regards to affordability. Take a listen.
I care about you being able to afford a home, which is why we fought so hard to fix the broken policies of the Biden administration. I want a lot of you, I'm sure there are military veterans in this room right now. I'm sure there are a lot of people who will join the military in the future, and we're proud of you. But part of America First is ensuring that we never ask you to go and do the American people's business unless it is in the interest of the United States of America. And that's how we honor the sacrifice of our troops. And that's why, my friends, that's why we care so much about free speech. As Charlie lived and died for the basic principle that we ought to be able to talk about our differences, we ought to be able to debate them, and we ought to have faith that the best way to make sure that the best idea wins is to actually just have a discussion. And that is what this event is all about. That is what Turning Points USA is all about. And I am so proud. And most of all, I'm so grateful to each and every person, whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, for coming out and honoring one of the most important parts of Charlie's legacy, because we're going to have a discussion tonight, and that's what Charlie would want us to do.
Yeah, see, this is what makes J.D. Vance poised to become the next president of the United States, because he's very skillful in his communication and how he articulates, and, he's young. He is the future. He's a millennial, okay? So...
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and pause that there, and, I like what he had to say, and... that discussion about that judge, it's amazing what the Democrats do. And, of course, the Democrats are fine with it. The Democrat voters are fine with this bullshit. Okay? We certainly weren't fine when the law enforcement was hacking senators' phones. That seems really strange to me. And the lawfare that they used against Donald Trump, but then again, the Democrats were fine with that. So, what the hell? All right, this video does come from Devory Darkins. I am subscribed to his channel. I've given him a thumbs up. I hope you do the same thing for me. And let's jump back here again and see what Rubin Report has to say. Things get tense quick when host calls BS on Democrats. Now, this is Jake Tapper on this. So, and that's, I don't know. This is unusual for Jake Tapper to call out a Democrat, but hey, stranger things have happened, I think. Let's take a listen. If this will start playing, it would be fantastic. All right, I've clicked the play button. Looks like it's ready to go. Bullshit. The White House isn't holding shit. Right, right. Oh, yeah, absolutely. All right, good report. And you can see that just another example, just one more example of how the Democrats just lie with a straight face. And that's what we call a bold face lie. Okay? Let me click the Rumble link and show you that this video does come from the Rubin Report. I'm following his channel. I've given him a thumbs up. I hope you do the same thing for me. Okay, let's jump back here and see what X22 Report has to say on. Let me get the screen up for you. That would be helpful if you could actually see the screen that I'm talking about. There we go. Okay. X22 Report, his episode 3764A. This is his financial report. Trump, we won the war on the climate hoax. Yes. Get ready. The big transition is coming. Okay. Well, let's see what that's all about here. Let's check this out here. All right. And again, I don't know, Rumble's kind of on a pause or delay here. So as soon as Rumble catches up with me, we'll be in fine
link
shape.
in the description.
Here we go.
Let's get right into the economic collapse financial news. Now, the deep state, the corrupt politicians, the private West Central Bank, the World Economic Forum, you can see every step of the way they are losing the narrative, and everything they try to do is completely and utterly falling apart. And Trump now is taking full control of the situation. If you notice, we mentioned yesterday how Bill Gates admitted that, hey, by the way, the earth is not going to implode on itself because of climate. Everything's going to be fine. You can live out your days. And Trump, he let everyone know that we won the war on the climate hoax, because that's exactly what it was. And you have to remember, going back in time, the deep state players, they just continually told us every 10 years that the earth was coming to an end, while they purchased homes on the beaches, because they told us that the seas are going to rise, the ice caps are going to melt. And it was absolutely fake, phony, and false, just like everything else they do. And when you think about fake, phony, and false, all you got to do is think about the central bank economy. And Trump, he's about to reverse that too. Think about it. He's reversing everything the deep state players have been doing since the central bank was erected. And now he's going to be transitioning this entire system, not just the system here in this country, but around the world, because the world is going to follow once we move away from the private West Central Bank system. And I do believe that is the end game to all of this, because once again, yes, it's going to be great to bring people to justice, but it's going to be even better when we return the power of the economy back to the people. Because once we do this, this removes the power of the deep state, the central bankers, and everything else, and all the manipulation that we've been seeing. Think about what the central bank has done to this country. The central bank has destroyed this country. This country should be rocking right now with technology, with infrastructure, with the people living here. It should be absolutely amazing. And since the central bank came into existence, they've kept this country down for a very long time. And Trump, he's about to change it all. And I do believe the end game is to remove the central bank and transition us into a people system. Just like when we go back a little bit in time, when we fought the Revolutionary War, our founding fathers, they fought for freedom. They fought to have a country without a central bank, and they fought for privacy. A little bit later on, the central bank kind of crept right back into the United States. And what happened? The Congress said, oh, we're never doing that again. We're not renewing your charter. Then the central bank crept right back in, and Andrew Jackson had to take them out. Now we have President Trump. He's going to be taking out the third one, because this one is a little bit more difficult. This one is deeper. It's wider. It's bigger. It's a little bit more powerful, because it has infiltrated so many different countries. It's created a structure for itself. And this is why Trump is setting everything up, setting up the parallel economic system to go after the central bank system. Because again, we need a system that is just as powerful as the central bank. And I do believe that's exactly what he's doing. And you can see everything the deep state players tried to do, where they try to bring us into the green news scam. It's completely and utterly falling apart. Same with the climate hoax. Trump, he put this out on Truth. He said the following: we just won the war on the climate change hoax. Bill Gates has finally admitted that he was completely wrong on the issue. It took courage to do so. And for that, we are grateful. MAGA. And once again, I think Bill Gates looked at the situation and said, okay, we said, 6, 7, 8 years ago that 10 years, the whole thing was going to fall apart. The entire world was going to implode because of climate.
Okay, now I remember a few weeks or a month and a half ago or so, Bill Gates going to the White House and having dinner with Donald Trump. And there was a lot of people on the right that were in an uproar about Donald Trump meeting with Bill Gates. Okay? I don't think that meeting was for Bill Gates to convince Donald Trump that vaccines and vaccines were okay and climate was a big problem. I think it was the other way around. I think Donald Trump convinced Bill Gates that he should frickin' knock it off. So, when you hear something like this about, big tech or some people like Bill Gates meeting with Donald Trump, I think it's a good thing because good things seem to come out of it when that happens.
And nobody's going to see this whatsoever. Nobody's going to see the earth implode. Climate's not going to destroy the entire world. It's been alive from the very, very beginning. If you notice, there's been this little girl that's been parading around trying to convince everyone that the world is coming to an end. And has it? Now she's not even pushing that message anymore because we're getting closer and closer to the point of destruction. She should be out there rallying, saying it's all going to implode. But Greta Thunberg is not doing that because she knows, and the deep state players know, that the jig is up. Their entire hoax has completely and utterly fallen apart. And you could see in this country, the push for the EV market, that is falling apart. Remember, yes, if you want an electric vehicle, go buy an electric vehicle. If you want a gas-powered car, go buy a gas-powered car. But again, if there is no demand for the electric vehicle, the government shouldn't be pushing demand. And this is what the Biden administration / Obama administration was trying to do. They were trying to push the electric vehicles on the people. And how were they doing this? Well, they were giving the people tax credits and they were subsidizing the manufacturers, which is absolutely ridiculous. Actually, isn't that?
Okay, now I know some people that have bought electric vehicles. And the information that I heard is the tax credits that they gave for these electric vehicles or incentives that they gave for these vehicles, the manufacturers, the sellers of these vehicles, just tacked that right on top of their price. In other words, if it was $30,000 and you got a $5,000 tax credit, well, then they just made the price $35,000 to the consumer. Okay, so it really wasn't for the consumer. It was going to the manufacturer because they just bumped the price up to whatever the tax credit or incentive was. That's the story I heard from people who have bought electric vehicles.
Fascism right there. So basically, they were trying to push this on the people, just like the Affordable Care Act. Nobody wanted the Affordable Care Act because it wasn't affordable. And actually, Obama at the time took it a step further. He said, if you do not take our product that we're telling you have to take, you are penalized. We will tax you into oblivion.
Yep.
That's what they were doing. Because otherwise, no one would take it.
And amazingly, people continue to vote for Democrats. It baffles me, folks. It baffles me.
The same thing with the EVs. The people weren't demanding it. That's the way a real economy works. Nobody wanted them. So what's happening right now? GM is going to be laying off thousands of EV workers.
Yay.
And green energy as the green energy subsidies end. So basically, they set up all these plants. They set up a battery plant. People got jobs. Not because people are like, God, I really need an EV right now. You know something? I got to get rid of all my gas-powered cars. I got to go full EV. No, people weren't doing that. And they created all this because they were getting money from the government. So yeah, if you had a business and the government said, listen, we'll give you a lot of money if you build this product, I think most of the people would do it.
Yeah.
But again, in a free market, in a capitalist society, this is not how it works.
Right.
And you can see, since they're not getting the money, they're not going to have a business because no one's buying the cars.
They don't have the demand. So therefore, there's no reason to build them.
So they're laying off thousands of people. It's terrible that the people are being laid off, but the gravy train has ended. Nobody wants it. Why don't they take those people, put them into the manufacturing departments where they're going to manufacture products that people actually want? Because think about what Trump is doing. He's bringing the automobile manufacturers back to this country. And once again, as it builds up, these people can work in those areas. Because again, we're not subsidizing the automobile manufacturers to make gas-powered cars. So once again, you can see that the entire thing is completely and utterly falling apart. And Trump right now, he's ending the Biden policy of automatically extending work permits for migrants.
Yes.
So President Trump's Department of Homeland Security is ending a policy that automatically extended work permits for millions of migrants in the United States. The policy change, announced by DHS officials, means that migrants seeking extensions of their work permits will now have to undergo screening and vetting before such an extension is granted. So basically, they want to see who these people actually are, and they're going to have to be screened. And once again, you have to remember that most of these migrants were taking the jobs away from the American people. And now you can see that the jobs are going to be returning to the American people. And this has to be done because once again, you could see that what Trump is doing right now, he's bringing manufacturing back to this country. He's bringing investments back to this country, making deals around the world where other countries are going to purchase the products that we're making, or we're going to build their products in this country. And Trump, he's just made an incredible deal with South Korea. This is what he put out on Truth. South Korea has agreed to pay the USA $350 billion for a lowering of the tariffs charged against them by the United States. Additionally, they have agreed to buy our oil and gas in vast quantities, and investments into our country by wealthy South Korean companies and businessmen will exceed $600 billion. Our military alliance is stronger than ever before, and based on that, I have given them approval to build a nuclear-powered submarine rather than the old-fashioned and far less nimble diesel-powered submarines that they have now. A great trip with a great president of South Korea. And once again, you can see that they're going to be buying our oil and gas in vast quantities. Because what are we going to do in this country? We're going to drill, baby, drill, baby, drill, which means it's all going to be part of the parallel economic system. And that is going to allow more and more currency to be brought into this country. And South Korea is not going to be the only country, because you have to remember, we're going to have so much oil that the fuel prices are going to go way, way down, and we're going to be able to sell the oil across the globe. This is something the deep state players never wanted to happen. They didn't want us to become independent like this. They wanted us to be dependent on everyone else, because I don't think they ever wanted anyone to realize actually how great this country is and how strong the country is. And we don't need any of the other countries, actually. We're actually self-sufficient when you really think about it. They tried to make us not self-sufficient, but Trump now is returning all of that. He also put this out on Truth about South Korea. South Korea will be building its nuclear-powered submarine in the Philadelphia shipyards. Right here in the good old USA, shipbuilding in our country will soon be making a big comeback. And it will be making a comeback, just like everything else, because when you bring everything back, guess what happens? All of a sudden, you create plants. You use energy. Cheap energy, by the way. You employ a lot of people. And as those people are employed, they put that money back into the economy. The towns all of a sudden start to flourish. More businesses start to move in. Hotels start to come in because you have business people visiting the corporations that are building these products. It all goes hand in hand. And this is how the economy is going to build like we've never seen before. And Trump, he just made a deal with China, and it looks like everything is on its way. Now, I'm not saying there's not going to be ups or downs. I'm not saying that everything is perfect, but it looks like we're heading in the right direction. Trump, he put this out on Truth. He said the following: I had truly great meeting with President Xi of China. There is enormous respect between our two countries, and that will only be enhanced with what just took place. We agreed on many things, with others, even of high importance, being very close to resolved. I was extremely honored by the fact that the President Xi authorized China to begin the purchase of massive amounts of soybeans, sorghum, and other farm products. Our farmers will be very happy. In fact, as I said once before during my first administration, farmers should immediately go out and buy more land and large tractors. I would like to thank President Xi for this. Additionally, China has agreed to continue the flow of rare earth, critical minerals, magnets, etc., openly and freely. Very significantly, China has strongly stated that they will work diligently with us to stop the flow of fentanyl into our country. They will help us end the fentanyl crisis. China has also agreed they will begin the process of purchasing American energy. Interesting. In fact, a very large-scale transaction may take place concerning the purchase of oil and gas from the great state of Alaska. Chris Wright, Doug Burgum, and other respective energy teams will be meeting to see if such an energy deal can be worked out. The agreement reached today will deliver prosperity and security to millions of Americans. After this historic trip to Asia, I am now heading back to D.C. I want to thank the great countries of Malaysia, Japan, and South Korea for being so generous, gracious, and hospitable. Also, Australia, Canada, New Zealand, Singapore, Thailand, and Vietnam, who were at the dinner last night hosted by His Excellency Lee Jae-myung. Hundreds of billions of dollars are being brought into our country because of them. Our nation is strong, respected, and admired again. The best is yet to come. And it looks like China, once they work it out, they're going to be purchasing our energy. So we could see that once again, Trump, he had all the leverage and actually making the deals across the globe in regards to rare earth minerals actually made China come to the table. And really, they had no choice. They were trying to use this against the United States. And when they started to see Trump making deals all over the place and the United States was going to get rare earth minerals from all different places, they started to realize that their plan was not going to work. Remember, we're the consumer.
Right.
We can go to many, many places to get the product. We don't just have to get it from China. So it looks like China has folded and they're realizing that they don't have the upper hand whatsoever. And once again, you could see the deep state players, they are now struggling. I do believe Trump and team, they are setting everything up for the big transition. And eventually what we're going to see, I think when we move into 2026, maybe even a little bit after that, I think things are really going to improve in the year of 2026, where we're going to start to see a lot of energy production. We're going to see fuel prices come way, way down. Actually, people are going to be really, really happy. And you're going to see a lot of the jobs start to come back to the United States. And it's going to pick up steam as we go into the spring, summer, fall of 2026. And people are going to actually feel absolutely incredible. And you're going to start to see the towns, they're going to start to return to the way they were back in the good old days. I'm not saying right off the bat, but you're going to start to see that, hey, wait a minute, let me open a store, let me open a business. You're going to see things really start to change. And with more and more countries buying our energy, buying the gold card, you're going to see a lot more currency coming into this country. And as this is all happening, Trump is building that parallel system that is competing with the Federal Reserve, and it's getting stronger and stronger every single day. Remember, tariffs is just one part of the system. And Trump is bringing in billions, even trillions of dollars from this system. When we start to sell our oil and gas, when we start to sell the gold card, when we start to sell the technology, this new system is going to become so powerful that the central bank is going to look tiny compared to it. And the great part about it is that we're not creating currency out of thin air. We're using the already existing currency that's already in circulation, which means no inflation, which means we're not borrowing it, which means we don't need the Internal Revenue Service.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and pause this there, and I want to jump back just a little bit about his discussion regarding fossil fuels. Okay, gasoline. Now, during the Biden administration and the Obama administration, what the government was doing was not allowing the oil companies to renew their leases on property that they had to drill for oil. Okay? Now, my daughter is a big liberal. Okay, I'm sure people have other people in their families that are big liberals. And this was when they were talking during Obama. They were talking about this windfall profit tax on the oil producers. Okay, and a lot of people thought that that was a great idea. And she was talking about, well, yeah, but the oil companies, their profits have doubled or tripled. And I explained to her, she was alive when we were paying 89 cents a gallon for gasoline back in the early 2000s, late 90s, 1990s and 2000. Yeah, we were paying 89 cents a gallon for gasoline. And I said, well, you've got to figure that the oil companies are making about a 3% profit. So if gasoline is selling for $1 a gallon, they're going to make 3 cents on every gallon that they sell. And that's pretty much an industry standard, 3 cents profit. I mean, you really can't complain about that. Okay, we only make 3 cents on every dollar we bring into this company. You know, with expenses and paying employees and taxes and all that. Well, if they're only making 3 cents a gallon profit on $1 a gallon, if the gas goes up to $4 a gallon, they're making 12 cents profit. Now, what do you want them to do? Okay, you want them to rearrange their whole system? And what if they give you 9 cents of that back? So instead of gas being $4 a gallon, it'll be $3.91 a gallon. Okay, does that make a big difference to you? 9 cents? $3.91 a gallon instead of $4 a gallon? Okay, for them to disrupt their whole situation and then maybe not even produce as much gasoline as they are producing, because then it will go up to $6 or $7 a gallon. And she got pissed off and just walked out. Okay, that's economics. Okay, and she got a college degree in accounting. Amazing. Okay, I'm glad I got that story off my chest. Let me click on the Rumble link here and show you that this video does come from X22 Report. I am following his channel. I've given him a thumbs up. I hope you do the same thing for me.
Service.
Okay, let me jump back here. And I do have a little bonus for you here that I want to share with you. Okay, right down here, let me close this out. I did a little chatting with M41 Kocque with Wendy Bell. America Deserves. I'm going to start this up after her first break, so let's see what she has to say.
Well, J.B. Pritzker thinks it's magic that the people in Chicago who don't want to get shot and killed this weekend, certainly not tonight trick-or-treating with their children. See, he thinks it's magic. He thinks it's ICE agents who are the ones who are causing the problems and the terror. In Chicago, it's not the brutal gunfire, bloodshed, the 570 homicides last year. Right? It's not that. It's not the drugs and the guns and the gangs, Tren de Aragua, MS-13. It's not the human trafficking. It's not any of that stuff. No, it's the ICE agents. It's just this culture of terror and fear. J.B. Pritzker is a walking joke who is such a shame. A new low. Pritzker hiding behind trick-or-treaters to stoke fears about Chicago ICE sweeps. J.B. Pritzker believes that if you're out and about with your children, you're trick-or-treating, one of them is going to get plucked off the street by an ICE agent, thrown into a van, and taken away forever. Really, J.B.? You just set a new low for Democrats by using kids wanting to go out on Halloween trick-or-treating to attack immigrations and customs agents doing their jobs in Chicago. So Pritzker, who clearly fancies himself, I don't know, somebody who can compete with Gavin Newsom for the Democratic nod for president in 28, please, sent a letter to the Department of Homeland Security directed at Kristi Noem and other members of leadership, including the head of ICE. And he's trying to fearmonger, scaring parents and using children on Halloween. And it calls on ICE, not all the gangbangers, to pause actions in Chicago over the holiday weekend. Because you know what? That makes perfect sense. Perfect sense. Let's hear audio soundbite number 1.
The Department of Homeland Security claims their highest priority is to protect children. So today I have to ask them, please live up to those ideals. I've sent a letter to Kristi Noem and to the Department of Homeland Security leadership asking them to pause all of their federal agent operations for the entirety of the Halloween weekend. I'm asking for basic human decency. I think their response will be revealing. They've disrupted everything for more than 2 months already. Give the children and the families of Illinois a break.
See, it's offensive to watch this blowhard sit up there and blowhardia, but it's the people behind him stone-faced. I'm like, you realize that you're connected to this. If you're sitting behind him nodding your head, you're a co-conspirator of complete fraudulent garbage. There's nobody living in Realville who's not an illegal alien who lives in Chicago, who's worried about ICE agents, right? Do a great job. Best luck to you. I'll get out of your way. Please, we just want people to stop getting shot and killed. Can we, please? Pritzker makes no mention of that. He says enforcing the law in Chicago causes mayhem and it inflicts cruelty on the people. Not the drive-by guy who's shooting at your house. He's not worried about that. No, he's not worried about the dudes who are all geeked out on drugs in your neighborhood or waiting for you to walk to the car to carjack you, right? He's not worried about that. He's worried about basic human decency. Good Lord, man. Don't children have the right to trick-or-treat without ICE agents? It's preposterous, and it sounds even dumber in audio soundbite number 2.
To Donald Trump and Kristi Noem, show us this is about something other than you just causing mayhem on our streets and visiting cruelty upon our people.
I believe he's done that.
And after Halloween, if you want to actually go after the worst of the worst, work with our local law enforcement to help us go after violent criminals.
Oh, that's
Instead,
a good one.
you are targeting innocent children and families, black and brown people, U.S. citizens, hardworking parents. In essence, you are targeting all of us. It's un-American, and we cannot stand for this. I will not stand for this.
What a role model. Democrat Party is super screwed. Meantime, there's Pete Buttigieg, right? Wearing a lumberjack flannel and having a beard because he doesn't want you to think he's too gay to be president in 2028 as well. After Kamala snubbed him. Well, you know, he's just... I'd rather take the Jew than the gay guy, you know. This is where we are, ladies and gentlemen. So he's smacked of mayhem, cruelty, basic human decency. Then, of course, just to make sure we got the full trifecta of the recipe of garbage, we're going to dabble on a little racism, and we're going to also lie and say U.S. citizens are being targeted. Show me one. Show me one. So what we did is we pulled up, he wrote a letter. J.B. Pritzker did, to Kristi Noem. And I have the letter. He uses these 2 examples where ICE agents have been terrorizing people. He talks about a Halloween parade. He says there was a Halloween parade in the northwest side of Chicago, and apparently ICE agents somewhere in the vicinity had activated tear gas that really affected the kids marching in a Halloween parade nearby, and it made them a little sick and scared. Well, what about cleaning up the reason why they were tear gassed in the first place? Not the kids, you moron. Obviously, some kind of a criminal, illegal gangbanger, JB. And the second example he uses of ICE terrorizing kids and families, a father in Naperville. He was snatched off the street. His daughter is battling cancer. Well, he's an illegal alien, JB. Pay attention to the victims. Pay attention to the sympathy card. Pay attention to the sob stories that are loosely represented, in fact. And then identify the source of the sock. Democrats. When we come back from the way on the Wendy Bell radio program, the Schumer shutdown.
Okay, I'm going to pause that there. Now, folks, I'm going to go ahead and share Wendy Bell and my daily news wrap-up, so you'll get to hear more of this if you tune back in. But in the meantime, let me click on the Rumble link, and show you that this video does come from Wendy Bell Radio. I am following her channel. I've given her a thumbs up. I hope you do the same thing for me. All right, jumping back here. I did copy the live chats into a comment. I'm going to make this a comment so that the live chats will be permanent with this video. And I do want to remind you folks that these videos that I have shared with you are videos that come directly from the producer's channel. Okay, I have the link to the videos and also a link to the producer's channel if you want to see more information from that particular producer, like Devory Darkins. If you click on this link, Devory Darkins is the producer of this video. The link to this channel is, if you click on it, it's going to take you to Devory Darkins' channel. Okay, so you can follow his channel, subscribe to his channel, watch more videos of his. Okay, so I don't get any commissions or royalties for sharing this information out, but I do get the satisfaction of putting this information together and at least sharing this with you so that you know what's actually going on behind your backs, so that you don't have to listen to the lying legacy mainstream media to get your information. Okay, and these videos that I do share with you are videos that I have posted on Mertech.com, where I have over 55 no-nonsense, common sense, logic, and truth videos. Right here's the video from Devory Darkins. Right here's the video from American Center for Law and Justice. Right down here is the video from Rubin Report. Okay, there we go, Rubin Report. It's in alphabetical order. And X22 Report, and of course Wendy Bell. Now I don't have time to share all of these videos with you, but I do have a daily news wrap-up where I've collected more information than what I was able to share with you tonight to share with you there. So go ahead and take a break, grab a cup of coffee and a donut or a sandwich and a soft drink or a beer. Meet me back here and we'll share more no-nonsense, common sense, logic, and truth. Okay? But in the meantime, I do want to thank you for being with me. Hopefully, I'll get to see you again later, and may God bless.